So poops, this video is titled How to Make a Police Report. Kind of a weird thing to be an expert on, but I've had all of these police report experiences, from reporting rando to having the guy block me, a report here, a report there,
including the one you saw the other day.
That report that you just saw was actually escalated over to Bukit Aman. I've been able to talk to the inspectors along the way, and they are going to be following up on that case. So here and today, it's time to share.
So yes, how is one question?
But actually, the real question that a lot of you are probably asking is probably, why do I want to make a police report? Waste of time, bazir masa, 浪费时间, niru virayon. 要去做 report, walao eh, 你去做 report, 要不如做你 bank balance increase. But then same people complain about how if you say anything, then you will get caught by the police. They say things never get caught. But you know why or not? It's because it's your own fault for not reporting. Then later you play victim and say, my mommy, daddy tell me not to report one. Well, since some of you are actually interested, I'll teach you how to make a police report, how to write a report to make your life as easy as possible, and to have a fun time doing it. Maybe if you're a weirdo like me. Alright, first of all, before you even go to the police station, what you need to do is to collect evidence. Bear in mind that if you're reporting a crime or any sort of incident, you need actual documentation, which means taking screenshots, pictures, details, if possible IC numbers, because otherwise all you're gonna have is he said, she said, he said, she said, and that's not the basis for a report. That is a complete waste of time. So if you see something you want to report, get all the documentation you need, take pictures, get everything you need to prove your case, otherwise you're gonna be wasting your time. This does mean a couple of small things like keeping track of when things happen, checking your watch, looking at timestamps, understanding exactly when things are happening, so you can actually defend yourself later if the guy that you're reporting tries to fight back and say, oh, this didn't happen
Before you physically go to the station.
If you want them to take you seriously, consider wearing long pants and shoes.
Or
wear whatever you want, because they're not allowed to reject you on the basis of your clothes.
Or is that only for emergencies?
But whatever your clothes are, don't forget your IC. Because first step usually is to register right outside the guardhouse of most police stations. They'll take your name, your IC number, and they'll give you a little tag that you can wear. If all goes well, then you'll be in the station, hanging out, popo here, there, and everywhere, till finally it's your turn to make a report. And when you get to the counter, there you have to handle the most difficult part of this whole thing. Talk to them like normal human beings. And what's gonna happen is that they're gonna ask you what happened and why you're here. This is the point where a lot of people just start freezing up, thinking, oh my god, what if I say something wrong? Oh my god, diorang nak tangkap aku ke? But no, you can say, apa kabar? How's your day? Sudah makan? Any number of those other normal things that you learn in day-to-day life that maybe not everybody learns on social media. If you haven't ever learned how to socialize in your life, a police station is not a bad place to learn. Whoa. Just talk to them like you talk to your friends. You do have friends, right? Right? Okay, don't answer that question. You might want to speak Malay at this point, or you can speak English if you really aren't good at Malay. It's a nice touch though if you're able to actually speak in Malay. And once those small formalities are over, then there comes the important part, which is when they show you a Word document like this, and then they ask you to start typing out your report. Now, this is really the most important part of the whole thing, because it is this report that's going to be sent over through the bureaucracy, over to the station, circulated to all of the officers who are going to be taking action along the way, so you want to make sure that this is clear.
You can actually prepare a full-on report before you even go to the station, and you can just type that out. Might save you some time because you know exactly what you're going to say, but if you don't know what to say and you are not sure how to write one beforehand,
well, you're in luck because of a very simple template for you. When you write, what you need to do is you need to share where you were when the incident happened, what you saw and what you did, why you're reporting, and most importantly, what you want. If you don't write these out, then eventually the police are going to be asking you this anyway, and they're going to be doing a whole back and forth here, there, and everywhere, and you're going to end up spending an extra 2 hours in the police station if you don't talk about these things.
And don't worry, I'll show you why they're needed.
Alright, so now we'll look at an example of that with my own report before I show you an example of how you can actually do this. Alright, here is our report where you were when the incident happened and when it happened is probably what I should say. Pada hari semalam lebih kurang 12 PM di blah blah blah. If you don't talk about this, they're gonna ask you about it.
Like, they'll ask you the exact time and place if it's not included.
It's gonna take up extra time. So tell them exactly that information. What happened is pretty straightforward. That's why you're making the whole report right here. And you can see that what you saw and what you did is kind of related to all of that. Mine is a little bit long because I had to go through the whole sequence of logic for how I discovered that the racist was a Madani government affiliate. Although I recommend you try to make it short and clear. Remember Occam's razor, the simplest and most complete explanation is always going to be the best. And I say simplest and complete because if you leave any gaps out there, then next thing you know, you blur blur buta buta 写到好像垃圾这样, then they won't be able to understand you and you won't get what you want. The why you are reporting part is important.
Because PDRM has limited resources and you need to convince them to use them.
And for me, it was because there's a pretty clear public interest angle behind this. I mean, if the guy represents the Madani government, then in my mind, if actually every single Penjawat Awam that works with Madani has this kind of racist attitude, then there's no way that I can trust people like these to create a just or fair society in Malaysia. So however much Anwar Ibrahim or any of the people listed on this Malaysian racism report right here talk about how they want to protect racial harmony. If you have people like these who are just casually sharing their racist views to a wide audience on social media, I think that the country is doomed regardless. So I think it's pretty important for the government to deal with this and for the police to punish the guy under all relevant laws to make an example of him so that nobody in the country is going to be doing this ever again. And that's where what you want comes in. Because when you make a report, you confirm need some sort of objective, right? Like, what do you want? You want them to catch him, arrest him, prosecute him under certain laws? See, if you don't actually put this thing in, then it's like, there's no point of your making the report, right?
Also, the police won't know what to do or they won't take action, so your time will be wasted.
So on my part, I asked for a couple of things, like conducting an investigation, prosecute him, charge him, cause him to reform, and at the end of the day, to share this with the media. Which, by the way, if any of y'all out there who are part of the media are interested in actually covering this case, feel free to drop me an email. I'm also including a little media kit in the link in the description down below, so feel free to write about it if you're interested. So, yup. Alright, so it is demonstration time. Let's say you're reporting a racist that you found on Threads and you want the police to call them and stop them from doing what they're doing. I'm gonna be inspired by Randuk since the guy is a racist.
Perkataan keling tak salah. Tak menghina pun.
I also made a report against the guy and made the police call his business.
And Fahmi Fadzil helped me file a legal request against him once upon a time before he blocked me because he was traumatized.
Actually, given the nonsense that he's still posting, maybe you should report him again.
I'm gonna do this in Malay,
but I'll provide a translation.
But you can do this in pretty much any language you want. But alright, let's go. Following first item on the template. Pada 20 Januari 12.30 petang, saya berada di pejabat saya di Wisma PWTC dan saya telah nampak sebuah posting yang berbau rasis daripada random Malaysia. And now we're going on to the next part right here with what happened and blah blah blah. Posting tersebut mengandungi gambar karikatur seorang orang Cina yang sedang dimaki tak sedar diri kaduk naik junjung type C bodoh pendatang ni. Dan pada masa saya nampak posting itu sudah dapatkan sebanyak 250 like dan lebih daripada 20 komen yang berbau rasis seperti pendatang memang macam tu bang dan type kiasu mana tahu sedar diri ki.
Yes, that's how these people actually talk.
Pada masa ini, saya telah balas posting tersebut dan menyatakan bahawa posting itu kurang ajar. Maka pemilik akaun Randu telah memetik gambar saya daripada Instagram peribadi saya dan letakkan perkataan-perkataan yang bertujuan untuk menghina saya dan mengintimidasikan saya. Yeah, this actually happened by the way.
At least something similar.
Fahmi actually took action, so yeah, like, good job. Anyway, pada masa itu, saya terasa amat terkilan dan telah hasilkan sebuah report MCMC yang mempunyai nombor rujukan. And by the way, here's where you make an MCMC report and take the actual nombor rujukan, which by the way, you can actually get from the report portal after you're done making your report, which will take about 10 minutes. Demi keselamatan saya. Alright, and let's finish this off. Ulasan yang berbau rasis seperti yang telah dikeluarkan oleh Randu tidak sesuai dengan negara majmuk dan harmoni seperti Malaysia, dan saya harap bahawa pihak PDRM akan bertindak untuk menghalang dan mendakwa Randu supaya dia tidak boleh melakukan perkara seperti ini lagi. And here's the important part. Saya harap bahawa pihak PDRM boleh jalankan siasatan dan juga mendakwa Randu di bawah kanun keseksaan, which is the penal code, dan juga seksyen 233 Akta Komunikasi. It's usually good, by the way, to like research the relevant laws that you should use, and you can actually use ChatGPT for this. Dan juga menghubungi Randu melalui nombor telefon blah 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 blah, if you can actually find the telephone number. Which, by the way, if you look at people's public social media profile, you may see from like the companies that they run or any other avenues where you can actually get that information, whether it's from them or their friends or otherwise, untuk memberi amaran kepadanya supaya tidak ulangi posting seperti ini lagi. And yeah, that's basically it.
I'll provide a translated version of this in the description.
And what you have there is actually a full, complete report that the police can act upon. And this is going to be super important, especially for the next stage. Because right after you finish typing this report, usually what's going to happen is the police will say, okay, terima kasih, can you wait for a bit? Because police reports in Malaysia, they end up getting sent to an inspector who's going to actually read the report.
Not always, but definitely in 3R cases.
They're gonna call you for a next round at another police station. So after you wait for a bit, then they'll give you an address, tell you, hey, so this is who you're gonna meet, this is when you're gonna do it. And when you go there, then that's where you talk to them in a lot more depth about what happened. And here actually, this is where all of the preparation that you did before by like collecting the evidence, taking screenshots, and writing out a good report is gonna come in handy. Because if you go over to the officer with no preparation, no evidence at all, you're gonna be there for like hours as they basically interrogate you, try to figure out all the details you did not put in, and probably they're gonna judge you for just writing something that was incoherent. But if you did everything up until now right, then it's gonna be a very simple conversation. You'll get to chat, see their office, see how police officers live or don't live, depending on how messy your police officer is. And before you know it, you sign your name off that final report, lickety split, and you are done.
If you don't prepare and you just go in completely blind and go over to the next station, wait for clarifications, it can take a long time, but
if you follow the template that I gave you for writing out a report, you can easily be in the station and out in no more than an hour. It's kind of like how Abraham Lincoln once was asked, hey, if you have 6 hours to cut down a tree, how would you spend them? And he said that he would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So do that, follow the template, it's going to be a lot easier for you. But you know what? Of course, this is just one type of crime. So let me go ahead and show you with ChatGPT that actually you can apply this template for a whole range of different other crimes. And I am gonna go right ahead and say in ChatGPT the following. Below, I have a police report template and a sample police report written in Malay. I want you to use this police report template to generate 5 different reports covering a range of different real world and online online crimes with storylines and different things that may have happened along the way, and for you to write them all in Malay and to justify why you've written what you've written, aiming to create a high quality report that the police can act upon and that can minimize the amount of time that you spend having to clarify things to the police. Alright, let's go. And it's waiting and okay. What do we have here? Macau scam? Yeah. Okay, I kind of didn't expect the scam one right here. But you can actually see there's a whole range of different examples, including doxing, theft of handphone, break-ins, and lastly, hacking of bank account.
So yeah, feel free to edit this prompt for your needs.
Even after all of that, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to make a police report, it's such a waste of time. You're absolutely right that it's going to take a little bit of time, but I encourage you to think about why you're doing this.
Let's say you take an hour making a report about something that you care about.
It's a lot better than spending 2 hours complaining about things that you can't control when you can actually take action for yourself and normalize doing that.
Or I guess you could tell yourself you don't care when actually you do. Of course, there are some situations where you have to report, and some like racism where it's like, if you don't do anything, then it's not like it'll immediately destroy the world, but then through your inaction, will you normalize something that you don't want to normalize?
If you make a police report, you're doing it for yourself. You're basically saying to yourself, look, what I saw was wrong, it's not acceptable, and because it's not acceptable, I will make myself stand and be counted. We need to get justice even if this doesn't earn me money, if this doesn't benefit me in some way, shape, or tangible form. It's about the principle of the thing. But perhaps one of the very best of those reasons is that if you make a police report, you can finally run away from playing victim and saying that you are so persecuted when in reality the problem is that you just didn't report.
Which is, by the way, one reason why I think that people have this idea that, oh, if you are Chinese or if you're Indian, then they're gonna catch you, but they don't catch people of other races. I mean, if you don't report, then they have no reason to act. It's just how it is.
At the end of the day, you're not like a victim of circumstance. As a citizen of this country or any country in the world, you have your rights to talk to the police. And really, rather than just complaining about the police day in and day out, it will always be much better for you to become familiar with our justice system, understand that these people are actually out to help you, and to normalize making use of it. I totally get it that you have a lot better things to do. I think a lot of us out there have better things to do, but the fact is that if nobody takes action and everybody just goes out and says, hey, this is not good, but actually you have no skin in the game, you never speak out. Honestly, I think that if you feel persecuted, things are bad, are getting worse, you don't feel any agency over what you're doing, honestly, I think it's your own fault. Seriously, get to know our boys in blue. That's going to be a benefit to you and to everyone out there in our society if more of us get close to the police, or at least understand, appreciate, and value what they do in our society. Because their role is a very important one, but so is yours as well in building that relationship between yourself and our law enforcement. Safety in this country isn't something that just comes from the police. It comes from a collaboration between you, the police, and everybody else in this country that if you've never tried building before, I recommend giving it a try the next time you have an opportunity. Anyway, so that's how to make a police report. Why or whether you're gonna do it is totally up to you. And that's about it. See ya.